Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with this session. First of all, hello everybody. How you doing? Yay! We had a really good trip over with my brother Rich over here. He's from Buffalo, New York. He's visiting this week, and 80-degree weather versus, what is it up there? 30 or 40, snowy. It's horrible. Anyway, so we're having a good time, and I have been here, I think, once or twice a day at least. And so thanks for having me back. Round of applause for Dave Noter and all he does with all the groups down here. And so we're going to talk about building some iOS and Android apps tonight. And this is going to be utilizing live streaming video as part of the solution. And I am a little bit about myself. I'm a developer evangelist for a company called Wowza. How's that for a company name? Wowza. How could you not work for a company called Wowza? That's what I want. So it was really a good fit. As many of you know, I have had a passion for video and photography over the years, and also I love doing developer evangelism, so this was like a really dream position for me to take on, and as I'm learning a ton, especially of course in the video area, and I'm going to share some of that expertise here with you today. And former developer evangelist for Microsoft and Component One. I'm a certified Xamarin developer. INETA Lifetime Achievement Award is Dave is CEO of Fustino Brothers and publisher of the Endorsed Jethro Tull App. So sporting that shirt over there. And a book author. I'm actually going to give away one of these copies tonight. This is my Azure and Xamarin Forms book. And so we'll do a drawing. I'll give you the URL to go to. And is this, can everybody, does it have this information already? Or
the Wi-Fi password?
Wi-Fi and password.
You're welcome to share it. Does anybody need the Wi-Fi password?
Okay.
No. The Wi-Fi password for the two buildings over to the right. Yes, of course, the Wi-Fi password for here. Come on.
All right, let me put it up here.
Oh my.
Is that okay? The Wi-Fi is the spaces. For guests. And then oh, we do? Okay. All right. So, and then the ID. Yeah, so I won't bother putting it up there. Sorry, we got a couple of these going around. So sign on the Wi-Fi because I got a URL for you to enter to win this book. Plus, I have a $50 Amazon gift card, so it's worth your effort to go out to this particular site, info.wowza.com/2018. And once you do that, just put your email in, and then we'll do a drawing at the end for people that have entered for these marvelous prizes. All right, so what we're going to do is also I want to let you know that we have all of the sample apps. Buzz.
It's nothing we can do. It's just the way.
Oh, okay. It's not. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. I have all the code and PowerPoint, everything at that top bit.ly, and notice that the letter, the second digit there in the bit.ly address, it's not 21, it's 2I, it's a capital I, and everything else is in. You should allow I's and 1 in those bit.ly, so don't get confused. Question? Yeah, it's right at the bottom there, info.wowza.com/2018. This one right here. Okay? That's a good one. If you want to take a picture of that, you can. And then also there's a dev trial available 180 days for our streaming engine product. I'll talk more about that as well. And anybody need that up there still? All good? Got a couple more cameras going up here. Yeah, so the bottom one. Okay, I'll set it. Go over that. So,
Couldn't get you on. Okay. My apologies, guys.
Testing. Okay, that's great. Awesome. Okay, so this photograph I actually took a couple months ago. It was in Newport Richey, where I live in Florida, and at our town park where we have concerts. And what I've got highlighted in red is everybody's got their cameras up. This was a Michael Jackson tribute band that was playing there in the park. And I don't know if you've noticed this in live events you've gone to, but there's definitely a trend, right? People are holding up their phones, they're videoing. A lot of them are doing like Facebook Live, you know, posts with streaming video. And it just keeps getting more and more. In fact, I actually have a little bit of a clip to show you. I'm going to pan the audience here and see if you can count them all. There's a bunch. There you can see it right there coming out all across. All of those, I mean, they're just, it's all over the place. And I think, you know, it's not getting any less, it's like getting more in that category. There is definitely a trend. And if you look back at history a little bit, 1980, Bill Gates was saying, man, a computer in every desk, right, in every home. That was the big vision, you know, back then. Now, you got a supercomputer, you know, in every pocket. I just went to the phone store. Rich got a brand new iPhone XR today. And it is amazing, you know, for the power that's packed in one of those. And this guy here is actually talking about his new iMac Pro with 64 gigabyte of RAM and 4 terabyte SSD, has 11 times as many bytes of the electronic memory as the Apple II. And by the Apple II, I mean the total of all electronic memory ever installed in all 6 billion Apple II computers ever made. You know, it's mind-boggling, you know, when you think of the advancements. Now, what about videos? Well, this is nearly doubled, right? In the last 4 years, the average person watches 20 minutes of video back in 2014, and it's close to 40 now in 2018. So there's another trend that we're seeing. It is a lot more video watching on the part of customers. So who here has like a live video streaming application they might be working on right now? Is anybody here in that category? All right, who's got like an idea? You working on something right now? What are you working on? StyleTV.com? Okay, so is that live video streaming? Oh, it is? Oh, cool, man. Very good. Where are you streaming it to?
We are live.
We are not. Okay. We are live? Where to? Where is it? Okay, cool. All right. And so what is your application do then? Style TV. Like a...
It's going to stream fashion shows.
Fashion
style
shows.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, very good. So that's a good application right there. Anybody else thinking of something now?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Raul de Jesus, ASP4. So I have a software development company, and curiously, I just signed a proposal this week that involves having to deal with video streaming, but we've seen fit to come on to the meetup and learn about the technology and the platform.
So you've done video on demand before, but not actual live video streaming, is that?
No, just rendering videos in mobile and web apps, but not like live.
Right,
streaming.
right.
So this is going to be we're going to be replacing a legacy Android app to a cross-platform native approach. So we need to deal with live streaming.
What cross-platform tools are you using out of curiosity?
Xamarin.
Xamarin, okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, cool. And can you tell us a little bit about that app at all? What it's going to be?
I'm sorry. I think it's going to be targeted to, It's related to the security industry.
Oh, okay. So IP cameras, stuff like that, hooked up to it potentially.
That I can tell, you know.
Okay. Cool.
That much. It's related
That's fine.
to the
That's
security
good enough.
industry.
That's another good type of application, right, for live streaming. There was another hand up over here too. Hold on a second. We'll get you the mic right here. There you go.
I mean, I did before, but not writing software. Like here?
Yeah.
My application was live streaming.
Yeah.
So we had the cameras and the encoder on the TV station. So it will be retransmitted through my co-located servers to South America. So there were horse shows competitions being transmitted live.
Oh.
The TV station was transmitting live.
Horse show transmissions live.
Yeah, it was Paso Fino, which is a kind of step for horses.
So that's like a live event category, right?
It was a live event. Yeah.
That's it.
And then other than that, I worked for a company doing streaming. We went through CDNs, Akamai, and basically I was, you know, in charge of making sure that thing worked. Right. So
nice.
You know, and multicasting.
Multicasting too.
Which is
so that's how you want to go to multiple places at the same time, right?
But they don't travel through the internet, so you have to figure out to have a server at the end to do the multicast.
Nice. Anyone else have any? Yeah, right there.
I've for a long time I've had the time to look, cause it's kind of complicated with all the stuff involved, you know, but want to make my own platform with live streaming for monetization purposes of my online content, because all the outside companies charge a lot of money,
right? Where
it's like they just take too high a percent. So live stream monetization doesn't make sense because nobody else is taking 50% of your money, right?
Right.
So, but if I built my own platform, then I just use Square to do my payments, and
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So building your own really live streaming platform is a great idea. Yeah. And I think what you'll find is that it's very affordable. You know, when you take a look at the number of viewers you can support for the amount of money you spend, it's like pennies, you know, and why spend $10 when you can spend pennies, you know, that sort of thing. So anyway, I think we'll find out even more. And another question I want to know is who here is here just to learn more about video technology in general? Show of hands. A good number of you as well. All right, very good. So I think I got a good idea kind of what the makeup is here. And adding a live broadcast and playback to a newer and existing app is a lot of times often thought as a complex and difficult thing to do, which is, I think you're facing that right now, right, is that decided that contract. But why else is live streaming hard to do? Well, a lot of times there's just a lack of knowledge in the video area in general, right? It's tough enough to be a developer, let alone have an expertise in a lot of these different fields that you're creating apps for, and this is no different. And video, I tell you, it could be very, very, very complex. I remember when Video Encoder first came out, when Microsoft made that product, and smooth streaming was just announced, right, to adjust to the different bandwidths on the devices. There were so many options in that package that you had to test and figure out what the cause and effect was. And I spent a lot of time. You had to end up doing small clips to test everything out, 10 or 15-second clips, because it took a long time to render. And so anytime you did a change, you had to learn. It was going through a learning curve of all the different pieces that are involved when doing encoding. Traditional mobile playback latency is too high. This is another thing that we've noticed more and more so lately, and it's even going to become more prevalent now that, did the gambling thing pass in Florida? I can't remember. I don't remember. It was on the vote. I can't remember how that turned. It did? So a lot of states now are voting on gambling on a state-by-state basis, whether they want to do that. So if you start seeing a lot more gambling websites or gambling apps, the latency is going to be very, very key. If you're betting on the next play in a football game, they got to have a level playing field with everybody that's betting, right? You can't have one person 5 seconds ahead of another person. And so latency is a very, very important thing. Latency is basically the time it takes from publishing or broadcasting your app from a lens to the playback on another device. That's the time in between is latency. So video and internet were not inherently made for each other. When you think about it, right? You have a fat video going over a thin pipe. It doesn't work, you know. It's, there's some things inherently wrong with that type of support, you know. And I remember, again, a lot of the things I had to do to kind of zip it down. And I think really what we're talking about here is encoding, right? You want to encode the video before it goes across the wire. And for those that are unfamiliar with encoding, it's very analogous to like if you have a large file you want to send somebody an email, what do? You zip it up, right? You shrink it down, send it through, so it's a smaller pipe that you're going through, and then it'll get there, and when you get at the other end, you expand it. Same type of thing goes for video. You want to encode the video before it goes across the wire so it's lightweight, going through a thin wire, process it, get back to the other side, play back, and expand it out or decode it. So that's a process we're talking about there, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So creating content can now be done anywhere at any time, and mobile devices are everywhere, like we're seeing. We saw in that video I took in my park, everybody had their phones up. Everybody was recording or broadcasting that live show. So what we'll talk about here for the rest of the session, I think, is the Wowza overview. We'll talk about a little bit about the Wowza company that I work for now, and GoCoder SDK samples. This is the SDK that you would use to incorporate live video broadcasts and playback. So we're actually going to build a broadcast and playback iOS app and do the same in Android. We got bi-directional data also to cover. You know, a lot of times you may want to have event-driven activities when you're playing a video. Like at a certain time, you want somebody to click on this thing here to go buy something or whatever. So that's a click event handler that you got to be able to program to. So you can do that. Then also, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the cross-platform SDKs. Is that my end or yours?
I think I did it, but
okay.
just reconnect. My apologies.
So anyway, yeah, while it's coming up, we'll cover some of the cross-platform environments and where we're at, including Xamarin. React Native, Unity, Kotlin, these are all cross-platform solutions that are being worked on right now, and I'll give you the exact status of these in that part of the session, okay? That sound good? All right, here we go. So Wowza Media Systems, this is the gold standard in live video and audio streaming. Been in business in 2005. Over 100 employees, so we're not like a brand new startup. The offices are in Golden, Colorado. I was just out there last week. It's just breathtakingly beautiful. Redwood City, also Berlin, and now Newport Richey, Florida in my office in my condo, right? So we have to add that one to the list. These is the list of the customers, and you see a lot of familiar names up here. SpaceX right down the road, right? They do any setup, and this is a great solution if you're not quite sure what the volume of your viewership is going to be. You're not sure if it's going to be 1,000 or 100,000 viewers. Cloud is great because it will auto scale no matter what, and so that's a very, very strong thing to take a look. So it does take some worries out. This is, has been out now at least a couple years at Wowza, this particular solution, and it's getting rave reviews. Also, you got the Wowza player to go ahead and play back HTML5 player. It could run in any website, any browser, any web view. That's another good solution for the Xamarin stack right now, is a web view control with the player in it as far as the playback goes, right? And I'll actually show you the code to do that. It's right in the player. Now we'll get to what we're talking about for the most part in this session is the Wowza GoCoder SDK. We actually have a Wowza GoCoder app. So if you could search in your app store, you'll see a Wowza GoCoder app, which allows you to broadcast. So that's the broadcast piece of it. All you got to do is wire up the few code numbers on what the streaming services that you're going to be sending it to, and you can do broadcast. It's a generic vanilla app called GoCoder. That was built with the GoCoder SDK, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, is the software development kit that you can use to put into your own apps and build. Then you can have engine feeding cloud is another possibility, and this is a simplified kind of a diagram now. Really what we're going to be talking about, let's say you have a live event or a linear stream right there. Then you would have the apps integrated with the GoCoder SDK for publish. Then you'd either publish to either the streaming engine or the streaming cloud, and then you use the apps for the GoCoder SDK for playback. So that's really what we're going to talk about is, you know, building an app for, you know, an iPad, right, or a Samsung Galaxy tablet or phones, and then playing them back on one of those devices. All right, so some of the features and benefits. The GoCoder SDK enables live video broadcasting and playback capabilities. The playback was just added, I think, about 6 months ago. Eliminates the complexity involved in developing apps that support a broad range of devices and platforms, which is always good. You can also broadcast from external cameras if you wanted to, and audio sources that are attached to your devices or Bluetooth in. Broadcast for gaming apps or local files is very popular. Easily connect to Wowza streaming engine, cloud, and our ultra-low latency latency which is a cloud feature. Ultra-low latency will give you anywhere in the globe sub 3-second latency, which is just mind-blowing. In the same reason, Fort Lauderdale, sub-second. And this is an amazing feat when you think about how much it has to travel to get to where it's going and then play back within that small interval of time. And what we've done is that particular feature we actually built on Azure, and we actually have our software on a lot of the CDNs that are in the network there, and that's why it facilitates that really quick playback. So Microsoft was very happy that we partnered with them on that effort, so that was pretty cool. What's that? That's right.
So the latency is very, very low.
Yeah, yeah.
For live streaming.
Oh, really? For live streaming? Yeah. So that's it. We want to get that latency down there, and then you got bi-directional support for events, and then dynamically variable bit rate and frame rate broadcasting. So here's the requirements: iOS 8.1 or later for broadcast, 10.0 or later for playback. Android, you need API level 21 for broadcast or later, and then 23 or later for playback. And then some use cases. We talked about a few, but you know, live weather and news is very good, especially when we start getting hurricanes down here in Florida. You know, it'd be good to have somebody just panning their road, saying, "Okay, my road is flooded. Here it is," and you know, and you got the live streaming. Yeah. The difference between broadcast and playback. So the difference is broadcast is where you're at the actual event that you want to stream. So you're going to broadcast it. So that's going to send it up to the stream. It's going to go through transcoding, processing, delivery, and then playback is going to be at the end user device or the end user location. Could be Facebook Live, could be YouTube Live, could be a website, could be on a device. Those are all playback scenarios. Go ahead.
The older iOS devices can be the source but not the receiver when you set it.
That's right. The broadcast, so the older ones will support broadcast, and newer ones need the playback. That's exactly right. And it's not too bad. I think it was iOS 10 and higher. So that's the current version. I think, what did you install today, Rich? 10.2, I think it was on yours. Yeah. Is it just for iOS? No. Is that what you asked? Oh, sorry. Oh, Android, you need either Android 5.0, which is the API level 21 or higher for broadcast, and Android 6.0 or API level 23 or later for playback. So you can build a broadcast app API 21 or higher. All right? Does that work for you? All right, good. All right, another one we got here, vanity broadcasting, like athlete interviews, off-the-cuff interviews, Russ Cam. Maybe I have to redo that, right, in a live capacity. You got sports streaming and highlights. This is always a typical application for live streaming. Low latency sport back. A lot of times we're watching Bills games remotely, me and my brothers, because we're from Buffalo and it's not broadcast. So the streaming is so out of whack with the radio broadcast. It's crazy sometimes. So latency is becoming an issue. And really depending on the type of application, it's a critical need, perhaps. Like I think, everybody watch Live PD here at all? Featuring Pasco County, where I live in Florida. I met a guy that makes the body cams for that, and you can see, you know, those got to be very, very responsive in terms of getting the information to wherever it's got to go to back in headquarters, so they can make really life-saving decisions sometimes. So latency has its places. It's not needed in every application, but sometimes you really have to have it quick. IoT, another big area, right, with drones and those new security doorbells that they got out, and the security application you're working on, and the live auction broadcast, again, with low latency playback, live gaming broadcast with low latency playback. That's HQ Trivia. Anybody ever download HQ Trivia here? Yeah, that's done with Wowza Streaming. And we have a few other ones that are like in the auction variety. They're being done in Asia, which are just like killing it. You know, they're really making a ton of money, and they're using Wowza software to handle all of the streaming needs. So a free license, like I said, is under the products, under the just look under the developer tab. You'll see all the free developer trials and licenses that we have. The GoCoder license itself is now free. So there's not even a trial on that. It's just free. You just get the GoCoder SDK. That used to be $6,000 a couple months ago. All right, so talking about getting started then with the GoCoder SDK. So I'm going to show you here is going to be native iOS and native Android environments with Xcode and Android. We're going to wrap up with a Xamarin example. I'll show you where I'm at with, I built some Xamarin libraries. That looks very promising, so it looks like that'll be coming out as well down the road. But basically what you see here is the Wowza GoCoder SDK framework, which you just basically drag and drop into your Xcode project, into the property settings, and then you're good to go, and you can build Objective-C and Swiss-based solutions. For Android, you can copy the SDK archive library to the Lives folder and use your Android Studio project. Just add in a couple lines for the dependencies that you see there at the bottom, and you are good to go. So it's very easy. You just got to copy this library into the Lives folder and then put these 2 lines of code in, and that's how you get started with it in Android. All right, so now let's take a look at the libraries and the associated classes and what you need to do step by step. So the first thing we need to do is attach a view to the camera preview, and that's done with the Wowza Camera View class. Then we want to configure the camera. And so if there is like autofocus features or something like that on the camera, you want to turn that on and get the maximum capabilities of that particular camera when you're doing a broadcast. Specifically, the video and specify the video and audio stream settings. So what's the host IP address, what's the port number, a few other things like that. And then define the broadcast status callback method. So this gives you a status, is there a problem with connecting? Have I connected successfully? Am I now streaming live? Those are all the types of status codes that come back that you would use the Wowza status callback API class for. Then finally, you're ready to start a live streaming broadcast, and that's use the Wowza broadcast class. And now you're pushing that stream out to a cloud. Now on the playback end of it, basically you have you want to add a player view to the app. So that's where you're going to be exposing the view, right, of your stream. And you want to implement, again, a status callback to get the various states of the playback, whether it's actually successfully started, that sort of thing. Configure the connection like we did before. Configure an HLS failback if you want to use that. And also set play options, whether you want to have audio come up or not, or if you want the video to come up or not. Those are all different kind of settings that you can make. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the sample apps and the SDK a little bit. So first of all, when you download the SDK, you are going to come up and there is a place where you would install it here, code. This would be like the SDK for iOS. And there's some docs file here, and then you can go ahead and take a look at all the documentation that's in here. Here's an index file. Let's go ahead and bring that up, and then you can see all the documentation very clearly. some of those classes we talked about, the Wowza config class, for example, the Wowza camera, Wowza broadcast, and all the methods that are in those. So good documentation there. And then also in the download, there is a spot for sample apps. And that's what I'm going to show you first. There's a sample app here for Android and another sample app for iOS. So let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to go ahead and fire this up just to show it to you. And then we're going to wire it up to, I think let's see what it looks like when we run it. And then we'll figure out where we're going to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. This is actually going to go to Android Studio first. No, we'll do that second. Let me bring up Xcode. All right, that's the one we'll do first. So Xcode, this will go to the iPad. So let's go ahead and run this. So I got it connected to my iPad right there. And over here on the left, I have a live view of my iPad that's attached here to this particular application. So now it's building it, and as soon as it gets done building it, then it'll push this sample app over to my iPad. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is two things. I'm going to bring up, I got two sites here. One is the engine, and the other one is the cloud. So again, the streaming engine is your on-premise solution. And the one over here, this is your cloud solution. So let's see how this thing looks. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click stream a live video. I'm going to go to settings. Let's take a look at our settings here. So I got a host IP address, a port, and live in my stream. So this is set up over here for this particular stream I have on Engine. And let's go take a look and see what our IP address is. Okay, so I just got to change that one. So let's go ahead and edit this. This is going to be 10 oops, 10 dot, and then we got 153, and then we got 254 dot, and then 153. All right, and port number is the same. Live is the application name, and then my stream is the stream name. So that's good. So let's go done over here, and now let's go ahead and do a broadcast of our app. And I think I got to restart this server maybe, because it's been idle for a while. So let me take care of that. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we'll go back over to the applications. And just double check that address. I think it's the same thing. All right, that is good. Try it again. Idle. Well, and what we'll do is this. Go here. These services. And then let's start them up again. All right, so that looks good. It's been completed. I think now if I go back over here. Good. Sign in. This is a good sign. Okay. Now I'll come back over here, and that should be okay. So let's try it again. Oh boy. Well, let's do this. Let's use the cloud one. we'll do a restart. And let's get the IP address for that, and we'll use that. Not quite sure why the other one's not working, but we'll come back to that one in a little bit. So instead, let's grab this. This is going to be our IP address. Is right down here, 35. Try that one. Dot 185 dot and then 15 dot and then 27. Okay, port number, that's the same. Application name is going to be it's app dash, and then it's 185 dog, 185 dog, and then we want to go ahead and put in the stream name, and that's going to be 1 Charlie 7, and then it's C triple E and D. It all looks good. Done. Try this again. Done. Let's do a broadcast. Come on, baby. Work, will ya? There it is. All right. So now you should see a thumbnail come up here in a second. And I'm going to go ahead and switch the screen. Now you can see me over here. And you'll see it come up. And so it says status is running, bit rate has been reduced because I got a small one. You can kind of see it running in the back. And there it is on the portal. How about that, huh? Pretty good? Okay, so let's go ahead and stop that now. And I'm going to bring up the Android application that's in here as well. Before I do that, on the Xcode, basically if you go to the project settings, the way this was set up, if I bring up the project settings, right down here is where you would drag the framework in, right? If it's installed on the SDK when you download it. And that's all you got to do there. On the Android side, all I did was I added this AAR file, which is in the SDK, added into this live folder, and then put in a couple dependencies there to kick that thing in. So now with this one here, I'm going to go ahead and run this now to my tablet device here. Let's go ahead and bring this up. All right, and so let's go ahead and run this. Go to my Samsung tablet. So once this deploys, we're going to take a look at it through here. As you should see it display here. And this has a lot of features, and I didn't talk about some of the other ones on the iOS app, but here they are. You can do a live stream publish. You can do a playback. There's also a Kotlin player. Has anybody been playing with Kotlin at all here for building apps? Okay. So you can capture an MP4 file, broadcast a live video stream while saving it to an MP4 file. So that's a popular thing to do. And then also stream an MP4 file. Capture OpenGLES output. You got to be able to display a bitmap, display a text overlay, grab a screenshot. These are all calls in the SDK that you can utilize and besides just sending a stream over. There's a lot of different things you can do with that stream. Display an audio lever meter. That's pretty cool. If you want an auto leveling application or audio application, use a Bluetooth mic for audio capture. That's another one. Event and meta APIs and a detailed SDK device information. If I click on that, for example, you can see all the versions I'm running, the Samsung, the preview sizes, video and audio media codecs that are being used. So a wealth of information there. All right, so let's go out to stream. Let's see what our settings are here. So this is going to go to, let's try that one again on the host address for the engine. Let's go ahead and bring that back up. I'm a glutton for punishment. We'll just try it one more time here. This one here is going to push it to the server, the broadcast. That's exactly right. So we got 10.153.254. And then 153. All right, and that's live in the stream. Okay, that's good. So we'll go back now. Let's try a broadcast. Connecting. I think it's going to have the same, yeah, it's getting some kind of, there's some kind of a problem with this local host version that I have here tonight. So I think we'll just resort to doing the cloud. And so I would do the same type of thing you saw in the other app, to be able to broadcast that app out to the cloud. And then to do the playback, I'm actually going to step through that code in the next demo that we build from scratch, okay, for iOS and Android. All right, any other questions so far? Yeah. Go ahead.
Pulling instead of pushing.
Poll. You can do a poll that's called like a player activity, right? So I'm going to show that, and you're going to be playing back a stream that you're pulling down, right? That's being broadcast.
The server goes to the encoder and says, give me the streaming.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. Give me the stream. Yep. That's exactly what the SDK does. Yep. And then the SDK will do the decoding. So what I showed you there in broadcast is some smarts on the software. And right? Not only is it opening up the camera in the device, but before it sends the stream across the wire to the server, one of the servers, it's going to encode that and send it over, and it's all seamless, so you don't even know it's doing that. So that's a real beauty of that. So let me go back to the deck here, and then we'll come back to the code for the broadcast and playback. And before I do that, let's just talk a little bit about bi-directional data. So these are the associated API classes you would use to create a data map and then send a data event, the Wowza data map class and the Wowza GoCoder classes. And then Playback will register a data sync and receive the data event. So you have the player and the data event classes for that. The code would look something similar to this. You go ahead, and on top is an Objective-C, the bottom is Android. So you create a new instance of the data map, the parms, and then you're going to put into the parms, for example, the text field is going to have the value of hello world. The track ID field will have a value of 99, and that's where you're adding those in. Of course, you can populate those from a database or something like that. That's just a hard-coded example. And then send the data with the send data event, and that's where you would take your parms and send it. Then Playback is a registered data sync over here. This is in where you do the registered data event listener on your event handler, and then receive the data with the registered data event listener. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the iOS and Android apps playback. So let's go ahead and bring up the code now. Let's go to Xcode. And let's bring in the code. We'll take a look at the code now that's involved in doing the broadcast and playback. I will be coming up with some lab exercises in the Wowza site in the next week or so, and you can follow through step by step what I've been doing, showing you here. You know, working with the sample application, for example, and then building these from scratch. I'm very close to having those finished up. All right, so this is an application that is for iOS. We've got a controller here. This is going to point to our cloud entry that we have up there, the application name and the stream name. I have commented out same kind of lines. If you want to go to an engine, you know, you can put the engine values in there in the code. But this is the GoCoder config object is the one that you would be using to set that part of your configuration up. Now what I'll do is take a look at this code up here as well. We've got, they're going to import the main header, which has links to all the other headers in the SDK. You got a couple variables we're going to spin up here, GoCoder, config, and camera preview. Then we got, and after the did load event, we have some license checking that we're going to verify. When you go to sign up for the GoCoder SDK, it'll ask you for the bundle identifier and package name for Android that you would want to use, and then it'll associate that registration key with those. So once it's successful and you have an object instantiated, then you go ahead and get your, we've set up camera permissions in the info P list here, where we've got right here, privacy camera usage and privacy microphone usage. So you'll get the pop-up. So use it like you normally do when you run an app and it says, okay, is it okay to access your camera or access your microphone? So that's a result of what you're seeing here in the info P list. And then you want to enable video and audio, set that to yes. And then here's our config method call, and then also there's the camera preview. And then this is a switch camera. I put this in because my iPad has a little flaky on one of the cameras, so the selfie mode works good, so I use a switch camera, but that's how you do it. If you had a button to toggle, you know, views, you know, or something like that, that's how you would do it, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then start the preview, and that would go ahead and bring it up. And then we have the did tap broadcast event as well. So there you can see the, you know, if it initiated the stream successfully, and then here's all the different status codes that you can test for, and see it actually writing out, it'll write it out to the log here. You know, and let's go back and do a playback event, right? So we have to we'll do that from the Android version as well. Well, let's go ahead and show you the playback on this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up the playback in iOS. Take a look at this one. So this is now going to take something that's being broadcast, and then we're going to stream it. So you're going to put the same type of parameters. This one's going out to the cloud, right, to get that. And then we come down the playback button. There's going to be a button we're going to show on the screen when we run it to start the playback of that screen. Then these are all the statuses: idle, starting, running, stopping, buffering. So those are all different things that can come back when we run this application. Now, what I can do here is to show this is I can actually bring up the GoCoder app on my Android device. So on the Android device, let me show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to go over to the settings. So this is the GoCoder app, by the way, and I'm going to go type in our IP address here on this application that I have in the cloud. This one here. So that was 35, 185, dot 15. Dot 27. All right, and that part is done. Let's go back to the application. That part is all looking good. Go back here and done there. So we should be able to broadcast this. And you can see it come up here on this page shortly. All right, there it is, right? So that's being broadcast. All right, now what I'm going to do is run the iOS application on my iPad that does the playback that's going against the same stream. No, that's not the one I wanted. Sorry about that. Get rid of that one. Xcode, this one. All right, playback. There we go. All right, so we've got an image being sent out here. And then over here, we should see the app come up. And there it is. And let's go ahead and hit the play button that we got on here. And then this should be coming back. And there you have it. How about that? Up and down. Worth the price of admission alone right there. Yeah, this is good stuff. And I think once you start getting this going and you know, utilizing this, I think you'll find that it's a very gratifying experience and an easy one to start building these type of apps. And so that was going full circle, right? That was going from an Android device doing a publish with our GoCoder app that you can download from the store, set the settings up, and it's good to have two devices when you're testing because you usually want to do both a broadcast test and a playback test. And so it doesn't have to be both Android, you know, one each works fine. You can do it that way. And then you do the flip now scenario in Android, right? You can test the playback and the broadcast. So let's just take a look at that code. So let's go ahead and close this up and bring up the, we have the sample app here. I'm going to go open up the broadcast app. And it's the same type of thing where you would have the same classes that we looked at there. And these would be the same classes you're looking in at React Native or in Unity or in Xamarin when you go to start utilizing those environments. There's the, let me do a view here, view presentation. Yep, I'm gonna make it bigger, is that what I heard? Bigger. View, where is contact? There was a presentation mode. There we go. All right, there you go. So there you can see all the classes that are being pulled in, the broadcast, devices, errors, players, and so forth. This one here is actually going to do the broadcast. And there's the camera view being instantiated. There is a camera view in the app. I'll show you that. It's referenced right here. All right, that's a bunch of XML markup that they have in the one of the views. Here's the audio device, broadcast device instantiated, and then you can specify the frame size here that you want. There's our host address that we would need to modify right for this particular stream. And these are, I can actually do this, I can just uncomment these. And then comment these out. All right, so now then I would go ahead and do the broadcaster and then the audio broadcaster as well as video. And then I got a listener event for the click for the button. Here's the permissions also. We check for those for using the camera and the microphone. And then here is the click event for that. And then our status is all down below. So that is the view. Let's go ahead and get out of presentation mode. And I can actually show you the project here. If you go down, take a look at the view. This is the main activity view, right, that we have, and this is the camera view, and then here is the button, right, that we put on the screen. So those two things. But this is the right there is the Wow's camera view that is going to expose your camera surface right to in the app. So that's it. So now if I go ahead and fire this up, we'll go ahead and do a, let's do a run. And we'll go ahead and go to the Samsung device. And so that's where we would see it deploy over here. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and hit the broadcast button, and then we should see it play back over here on the cloud. And there it is playing back. Now, if you did want to take a look at the view of this, you could open up this player. So let's do that. So this is how you would actually look at this, like on a website or something like that. And there's the actual footage that's coming down and being played there. And then the other thing was I wanted to show you is, where is that? There's a playback page right there. And this is the part I wanted to show you right here. So you would just put a div in your HTML along with this script section right here, and then you'd have that player embedded in your website or your web view. So it's pretty straightforward. So let me go ahead and get out of this. And okay. All right, so let's go back out to the deck. Now we do have API calls as well to facilitate create, start, check status, stop, delete, and all 160 other endpoints that we have in the REST API. We are working toward building some SDKs for the REST API as well for multiple language support. So you have that to look forward to. And then also you can, this snapshot you're seeing here is from Paw, which is a good tool on the Mac for testing. But you can also test it like in Postman if you want with these type of calls being issued. There is also a Sandbox I want to show you that you can use for cloud development. So if I go here to sandbox.cloud.wowza.com, here is where you can test all your APIs and not get charged for any usage. So this is a nice little play area, right, to get things up and running and get all your APIs working. And you can see there's a button here to open the interactive API documentation. And at the top of this page is a file that you can download. It's a JSON file that's in our Open API Swagger 2.0 format. So you could take that and something like API-matic and convert it into Postman 2 and suck the whole thing into Postman. And now you got a whole collection in there. So it makes it really easy for doing API development. In fact, I think I got that on here. I can bring up Postman. I could show you that. But here are like anything to do with live streams, for example. Here, you got live streams. This creates a live stream. Here is the required parameters up above. We need a API key and a access key that goes over in the request headers. And then these are all the required fields. You need the aspect ratio, height, width. Download that file, convert it to Postman 2 format, and bring it in here. Here's my collections tab. This is the live stream that you just looked at in the documentation. Where is the create? There it is. It does a post. That's already pre-wired. The headers are defined. There's the 2 headers that you need. These are the body params that you need. So it makes it really easy to do this kind of testing. It's always nice to add a little bit of API magic, right, to your application, where like all that stuff I was doing manually, right, starting and stopping streams, getting the number, you can do that all programmatically. It makes it really easy for the end user to run an app like that. Okay, so that part's all set there, and let me go back now to the deck. Let's talk about Xamarin and all these other ones here. So we had a meeting at last week. We do like programming interval planning every 3 months, and all the SDK stuff got raised up. I'm so stoked, you know, here, because this is, you know, our own developers, when they develop something, they look for an SDK, right, to help them develop faster. And so I'm happy to say we're coming out with all these. Don't have any timelines or promises, but I'm actually going to show you a working Xamarin example, doing a broadcast, and I did that by creating a Xamarin binding libraries. Anybody ever attempted to do that here? The Xamarin binding library. I'll go through the process and how you do that. The purpose of a Xamarin binding library is basically you want to create a wrapper around an existing SDK that's only available on iOS or only available on Android. You want to make it available in C# with Xamarin. So it's going to be like a pass-through to the raw API underneath, and it's going to be C# code that you would use to access it. So I'll show you that in a second. Unity. I'm having meetings with Oxygile and React Native coming up, and we're going to get these things out the door. Right now, React Native is already up on the GitHub site, and MetaMobile is the consultants we've been working with on that one. And it supports broadcast right now. They're updating it for playback capabilities as well in the latest SDK. And then Unity is very close to being done, as well as my understanding. So you should be able to see that in the asset store. Who here has used Unity before? Show of hands. Anyone? It's a very popular environment, especially for gaming, building games. I think over half of the games that are in the stores are created with Unity. And so it really makes sense to go to that particular cross-platform development environment for us, because gaming is a good vertical, right, for live streaming. And so we'll take a look at that. And then also Kotlin. We just released the player, and so we're looking for more things to come there. So it's kind of a current status, what we got. This is a little bit of a background in the binding libraries. Yep. Yeah, OBS is an open source project, right, that you can go ahead and use to do, you can use that to broadcast streams, and then it would broadcast it to the Wowza Streaming Cloud or Wowza Streaming Engine. So it's a very popular thing to do. That's right, yep. So here we have both ends covered with that. The part in the middle is where the streaming is the big beneficiary there for using Wowza Streaming Engine or Streaming Cloud. I think the proof of that is our really big customer base that we have over the 10 years.
No, I don't want to know that. I was asking what the differences are in the features, not what the not who the customers are.
Okay, what is the difference between
the
OBS?
Features. I mean, if you don't know, it's fine. I'll Google it later.
No, what's the question?
No, but he was saying that they had the software in there. Did I misunderstand? You have the software to do what OBS does included in there.
No.
Oh, I thought you said you had that too, no?
OBS can talk to our streaming engines.
Oh, I thought he was saying that they had a software for that too, no.
It can. And then also I think OBS, you may have the ability to do streaming as well with that. I'm pretty sure you can. I haven't actually used that yet to do with OBS, but I think these are my thoughts on OBS, is that it is open source, and it is it's a little bit more difficult. You kind of got to know what you're doing in the video space.
That's what I use, and I started with zero experience.
Okay.
I started with zero video experience. He knows, he met me before I started Coding Commanders.
Okay.
I have a YouTube channel where I give free programming tutorials.
Okay.
And so I knew nothing about lighting, I knew nothing about streaming, nothing.
Yeah.
I just had a laptop, Google, and a dream, and I got OBS, and it's pretty simple as far as, I don't know, that's what I thought it was like what most people were using.
Okay.
Looks like two different
Yeah. I was just confused when he was talking about that. I thought he was saying that they had like a software.
So OBS has no backend. This would be a fantastic backend, absolutely.
Yeah, we
And
actually
you
work
guys
with
have
a
SDKs.
bunch of other products. What's another one? Wirecast, a Telestream. I don't know if you ever heard of that one, but that's a higher end professional software package that you can mix and match camera angles if you have multiple camera shoots. And then we work with that. You can go ahead and stream out to the Wowza Streaming Cloud with that, or Engine. So there's a lot of different possibilities, and we work with a lot of third-party vendors and controls and devices.
And your product could be integrated into the game.
Absolutely. Gaming is a big segment, yeah, for usage, for sure. All right, getting back into the bindings libraries for Xamarin. This is what I had to do for far as the steps. So for iOS, you got to use something called Objective Sharpie. So if you're ever in a scenario where you have an SDK that runs in iOS or Android only natively, either through Android Studio or through Xcode, and you want to use it in Xamarin, this is the process that you go through. You download a tool called Objective Sharpie. That works with the terminal program. It's a command line driven utility, and it creates two files. It creates an API definition C# file and a structs and enums C# file. You take those, you create a brand new project in Xamarin, which is a bindings library project. There's a template in there when you do a file new. You copy those two files into your project, and then you go ahead and build the app. And the result of that is going to be a DLL that'll end up being a reference into your Xamarin project. And I did have a couple gotchas that I figured out. When I used this Sharpie command on top, with just going after the framework itself, it lost its mind, and I was getting this argument out of range exception. I had to specify the exact path of the header file and then where all the ones resided. So this narrowed the scope of where to look, and this thing ran fine. So I was able to create it with that. So it's just a different flavor of running the Sharpie binding. You can see the bind SDK, phone version, and then the part that differs is actually specifying the framework header file and then where all the subheaders are. That worked.
You're missing the dash.
I'm missing a dash in here?
Yeah, the parameter, dash framework.
Oh, the dash framework? You're right, that would have to be in there. So that's right. So good catch. We got to give you a pair of Wowza socks for that. That's really very good. Yeah, plus for film and everything.
Oh, this is amazing.
Thank you.
It's amazing, just showing us something that's not even on your website.
That's right. Yeah, this is all Russ Fustino hot off the metal. Doesn't get much hotter than this right here. Then the Android bindings, what you need to do is bind the Java libraries that were built for Android and use the AAR file. The AAR file is one we distribute with our SDK. So all this stuff is public, right? You can actually build these on your own. If you're ever in a situation where you got to have an SDK and there's not and you're using Xamarin, this is the way to go ahead and still move forward, right? And not get stuck. For the AAR file, you want to create a bindings library, and then also that's a template again, right inside of Xamarin. File new, bindings library for Android. Use the binding library types and resources, and then you'll probably get some errors. And I put together a bunch of links here on resources and trying to resolve some of those errors in both iOS and on the Java side. There are some things that get renamed or need to be renamed slightly after the result of doing this, just the naming conventions that C# has versus Android or versus iOS. And the thing that I found out to my surprise was there is a free support for Xamarin with Microsoft. Any Xamarin related issues, yes, you can all get free support on Xamarin. And the way to get to it, it's a little bit of a trick. I started out with the old www.xamarin.com. That redirects you to the new Visual Studio Microsoft.com/Xamarin site. And then you click on the bottom on Sales and Support. And then you select Other Products, Visual Studio. And then finally, there's a drop down for Xamarin Platform. You got to be very specific about your request. For example, I had 2 requests. One was to get the binding library to build successfully, right? And all the errors that I was getting there. The next one is once you have that, a lot of times you may have a sample project that is written that consumes that library in Android or in Objective-C. So what you have to do is you want to port that over to C# now and use the new C# libraries. For the Objective-C, the manual conversion effort was what I ended up using. There is a code converter tool called Automagical. I did not test it, and that one there cost I think $80 or something like that. But I was able to do it fairly easily, I think, in both cases on this part of it with the use of A, the object browser, and B, IntelliSense. And between those two, I was able to really get the actual new names and all that kind of stuff in the sample application. So it wasn't too bad, but this was another example of where I needed some help with Microsoft to kind of guide me through, and they gave me a lot of those resources that I put in that previous slide that you have. So let's go ahead, and I mentioned this, Oxygile is doing this. So let's go ahead and show you the Xamarin demo. Let's get up to our suite in editor here, Visual Studio. Yay, for the Mac. All right, so this is the Android project. So I got two projects in the solution. One of these is the wrapper project, and this one on top creates the DLL. The one on the bottom is going to use that as a reference to it. So this is actually the Android project. And I think actually Lexicon Systems is going to start a GitHub repository on what I'm showing you here for both Android and for iOS. So look for that. Look for our blog on announcements on that. And maybe all can contribute to this and get this thing moved along, right, to get this out to be a full-fledged product. So anyway, here are the, there's the AAR file that we brought into the application. We add that in, and that's what it gets built around. And then I have this transforms. This was what the metadata, this was the file that I had to modify to make this whole thing work. We had to look at taking some package names that were not found, and then we specified where they were, what is the path for these in the API package. And those articles I pointed you to in the links to show how to do these. And that, with those 8 lines of code that you see in here or so, that's what I needed to get the Android one to work. And so now if I take a look at the client application, so here's our client. This is going to look very similar to what you've seen already in terms of the functionality. Here we spin up our variables for the camera view. Here we have our onCreate method. This instantiates the GoCoder instance into that variable, feeding it the license key. And then you have a write line here. This finds the camera view preview like we had before in there. This is actually under the assets, I think it was, or resources, excuse me, layouts. And there is a, there it is right here, this one here, I think has got the view right there. So there is the camera view that's in that activity. And then here's where you specify the parameters, right? So I think this is actually the broadcast, I think it was, right? So if I go ahead and do a control here, send those up, get this down, and let's do that. The only other thing I'm not sure I have wired up right is this guy, but we'll try it, we'll run it. Let's do a save here. Let's fire this up on my Samsung. And let's go ahead and run this. Yeah, let's see here. That's the Mac. We'll go ahead and...
That's the iPad.
Yeah, that's the iPad. Okay, so there that is. Alright, so this thing is deploying now. And there it comes. So now I should be able to broadcast. Initialization. Ready to begin streaming. Yay! So there you have it. And we should actually see it now coming up on the stream over here. And there it is, my demo stream coming up with the thumbnail. And I'm telling you, I was ecstatic to get this to work. And I think, where was it? Maybe I clicked on the other one. Should have been there. I saw the thumbnail coming up on the side here. There it is. All right, there you have it. Now go ahead and... Yay! Everybody here. How about that, huh? Pretty cool. And we'll go ahead and stop the broadcast with the toggle on that. So that is, it shows you, it works, right? And that took me a while to get to that point, but like I said, if you ever get in that situation again, just contact Microsoft support and they'll help you get through that. They were amazing, as a matter of fact. I sent a nice kudo email to the support rep's boss, over there, just a big thanks. So it was awesome. So let me wrap up here. If you have not done so yet, we need you to go out to info.wowza.com/2018. We're going to do drawing from that for my free book, and I've got a gift pack. And these are some additional resources here that you get the complete API reference docs included with the SDK for both iOS and Android. The GoCoder SDK, developer guides and examples. We have some really good examples up on our site. A lot of good documentation there. The Wowza product and developer support forms. We actually have a developer relations manager now too, Rose. She's been in contact with you, Dave, I think a few times. And so she's managing the forums. And really, developers are very important to Wowza. This is really the basis for a lot of the apps that are built, and the streaming services that we sell are through people in this room. And so we've recognized that. They hired me about 6 months ago to do the developer evangelism work, and we're on our way. Yeah.
So a lot of your sales come from the people that come here. Do you think it would be beneficial if there was greater diversity here?
Diversity as far as what?
Gender, color, background, not as much white male.
Yeah,
more
right.
Mixture.
I love diversity.
Yes, I do. I have one idea. When I first came here, okay, first, I'm kind of new here, right? I'm a single mom. I'm an entrepreneur. I run around like a chicken with her head cut off all week, all month. When I walk in here, a lot of times it's my first chance to take a breath the entire week, maybe even the entire month, okay? When I sat down there, and I'm new here, right? Some of you guys might know me for Boca.js, my favorite, or some of the other meetups around town, but I'm new to this one. So I was the third person to give an introduction. When I was handed the microphone, I paused for a second because I needed a second. I just sat down. I'm tired, right? I'm a 37-year-old woman. I just look 25. And he said to me, when I paused for a second, "It's okay. It's good practice." What does that tell me? It sounds very condescending to me, and it tells me there's an assumption just by looking at me that I need practice to give an introduction to myself. I've actually been doing presenting and speaking more than I've been doing programming. That's my #1 thing. I just need a second to catch my breath. Nobody's paying me to speak here. Right. I'm here to sit down. And things like that is what keeps the crowd. If you look at my Twitter, @CodingCommander, Look at the people on my feed, look at the people I follow, look at the people that follow me. There's lots of white men. There's also black men, Hispanic men, black women, white women. There's everybody. Tech is a lot more than just white men, but you wouldn't know it. And Broward County is one of the most diverse counties in the country. And I live in Broward County, and I could walk here. I know Boca's not known for its diversity, but if you live in Deerfield like I do, or Pompano, the meetups are going to be Boca or Fort Lauderdale. There's no reason why there should be, what's the percentage here?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And that's why, because right there at the beginning, that gave me negative feelings. If you go to Boca.js, now, I mean, it's always going to be more white men than everything, but I see more diversity at Boca.js than I see at any other meetup that I've been to in South Florida.
It's happening.
In South Florida is one
happening.
of, but you know what, Damien, when I first came, this was the first meetup I had been to, and I was shy back then, not because I'm not good at speaking, but because it was a new environment. It's still majority men. It's a little bit intimidating, right? Especially when, let's keep it real, there's all these people looking at you like a piece of meat. It's like no eye contact with anybody, like bar rules, you know what I mean? And then, but he came in, and he came right up to me, and he treated me with nothing but respect and welcomed me, and he complimented my work, and he really made me feel like I belonged. And that's why, that's the meetup that I, what? To present.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I see more diversity at Boca.js, because a lot of them, it's all white men, but that's not the industry. It is not. And if you don't believe me, go to @CodingCommander, look on my page. There's everybody. There's every kind of individual.
Can I give you a present for that? This is a trifecta. You got a USB power supply.
You had a strange look on your face.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Here
I've
you go.
seen it like,
Here.
you just.
You should make no. You made it. You don't make an excuse. That makes it worse. That's patronizing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. There you go. There you go.
In my circle on Twitter, we call that mansplaining.
Oh. No, it's a very common thing that you are talking about, and I've been presenting for probably 15, 20 years, and it always has been predominantly a male audience. No rhyme or reason for that. Shouldn't be that.
It's because that's not the only. Yours wasn't the only example. There was other examples too, but I just wanted to pick on one because I didn't want to make it like me just like.
No, that's good. And
there's a lot of like things that you might see little. You gotta remember, there's all of you and there's one of me.
right, and you're doing the right thing by taking up presenting and taking advantage of the opportunities, because that's one thing that these user groups are great for is just that. They'll you want to do a speaking engagement here, you just write up a little abstract and you'll be in. That's it.
You just gotta realize you don't know who anybody is or what
Yep.
they've done, and you need to treat everybody
And
the same.
the code camp that Dave's running in February, I don't know if you've ever been to that, but that's another great opportunity to get engaged with the community. And there you will not just see one woman there. You'll see more, but it's...
Actually, I have on my Twitter, like, a lot of the people that are on, like, core development teams for some of the JavaScript frameworks that we know and love are friends of mine on Twitter. I'm very integrated into the community, actually. My problem is time more with like how much I speak than opportunity, because I am a single mom. It's not as easy for me to travel the world like some, you know what I mean, like some people can.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think times are changing. I am seeing more women in the field. I go to a lot of major expos
It is
and trade
changing.
shows.
And that's the thing is what you do now is going to affect you because it is changing just the sheer supply and demand. Tech has not been white male dominated all these years because they're the only ones that know how to do computer programming. It's it's how the society is. A lot of people have been kept out of a lot of fields over the years and kept from getting proper educations as well. It all starts with the education system and what classes you're given, what school you go to. But that's changing because now with the internet and sites like mine, free programming tutorials and lots of them and lots of information out there, and people are achieving a lot and they're telling their stories of success. Like I'm friends with one girl on Twitter. She was working at McDonald's, taught herself to code. Now she's like Twitter famous. At Coding Commander. You could Google Coding Commanders. Like, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I have a website, a YouTube. I got a t-shirt shop, a donor box.
All right.
She'll have more followers on her tutorial webpage on YouTube than all of us.
It's funny. You're
That's why I like to, I act kind of modest a lot, but like.
Sorry, she's.
Thank you.
Right, and you started how long?
It was like a year and a half ago.
Really?
We met you at the beginning. It was me and Nahama. That's before Nahama got pregnant.
And it was incredible. You
All right.
did a great job.
So can we wrap it up then and give some giveaways or what? All right.
Saw on your slide it says not interoperable with Swift.
It is operable with Swift, yes.
It is. It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
The not operable Swift part was the Objectives Sharpie piece. That only works with Objective-C. So maybe that's what you saw.
But,
Okay.
but all Swift code can consume any SDK library written in Objective-C.
Yeah.
So
That's
it
what I
is
was
100% compatible with Swift.
Yeah.
The library might not be in Swift, but it's 100% compatible
Yeah.
with Swift.
Our library that we works with Swift as well as Objective-C.
Let's turn it on.
You have the engine, the local engine, and you
Yeah.
have the cloud.
Yeah.
We as developers, do we have a path that we can try this for free? I don't mean like a trial of 30 days, just like a ongoing, testing.
Yeah, I'll show you what we got here. So if we go out to Wowza. Okay. If you go under the developer pull down here, you can see that we have the GoCoder SDK, which is free, and that's lifelong, right? So you get that, you got the SDK, you can go ahead and build iOS, Android apps. As far as the services go, I showed you the Sandbox, which is also free usage. Then you get into the actual trials. We have two of them. One is the engine dev trial here, which is good for 180 days. So that's 6 months. So that's not too bad. The cloud offering, we just came out with this like 3 days ago. And now we actually have a cloud developer free trial that allows you to use full API access as well as ultra low latency access. So you got, I think this is 30 days. And this is easily extendable. They're going to have just a simple button on here. If you need more days than 30, you can click on that and get another 30. And so that's what we have in the way of developer offerings right now. On the pricing end of it, you take a look at the different starter plans. So you have different plans for cloud and for engine. On the cloud, you can see you've got maybe you're doing a live event. Right, and these are like live event plans. So it's like 50 processing hours, 3,000 gigabytes, which is about 6,000 viewing hours. That's $199 per month. And then you look at the API plans, and this is based on API calls. So first 10 hours, $6, and so forth. So there is a pricing calculator too that you can go through and say, okay, I have a live event. It's like 3 times a week. It averages 3 hours. Maybe I'm going to have 1,000 viewers, maybe half will watch it the whole time, and all that stuff is in a calculator, and then you can price out exactly, how much that's going to be. Yeah.
In terms of engine, because on the cloud you cannot do it, but in terms of engine, do you have multicast capabilities?
Multicast capabilities, yes. So you can go to multiple players at any time. So by that I mean environments, right? So you can go to Facebook Live, YouTube Live, your website, and app all simultaneously. Is that what you're asking?
No.
All right, what are you asking?
Let's say you are it cannot travel through the internet, the multicast. That's a given. So in a corporate, you connect to one stream, which is on the cloud or, and internally it gets distributed, not by the server, but by the routers. That's multicast.
Okay.
IGMP protocol that basically belongs. The thing is that the server has to send the packets, you know, to the routers in a multicast way.
Okay.
So my question was, do you have that type of engine?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, multicast is part of it. Absolutely.
Hey, Russ, is there any kind of storage? Can you store your stream and play it back?
Yeah, so I was actually just investigating that too, where you would have the ability to record a stream that you're broadcasting, and then you could take that and put it anywhere you want. Any content management system you might have to manage those, because those become now video on demand, right, at that point. So yes, you can go ahead and record that. And in fact, the pricing I had for this live event, I think it says on these live streaming recording, you can quickly archive live streams with 250 gigabytes of peak recording storage. It's included in your plan. No, it's not, because I think we're not in the business of providing a content management system for videos. There's so many good products out there that do that. So that is our take. You can certainly automate it, right? So whenever a file lands there, you can go ahead and push it over to wherever you want to go to as far as your content management system goes. Yeah. Did that answer your question, Dave? And if you go above that 250 gigabyte, I forget how much it is. It's like 8 cents a gigabyte or something like that afterwards.
Is there any other platforms providing similar services at the moment?
Not that I'm aware of that's as end-to-end solution that we offer. There are certainly competitors out there. I can think of one that's more of real-time communications, RTC, protocol, but that's totally different because, that there is primarily concerned that the audio is always going through. If you get a bad connection, the video gets blotchy. That's not our scenario at all. We want everything to go through. And so that's like a big differentiator right there that you need to look for. Okay, I have all the entries in my pocket, in my phone. Well, actually, it's right here. And we can do a drawing. I got 2 giveaways. That's okay? Does that sound good? Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate being here. Thank you. All right, well, here we go. So we got all the replies right here. I got 14 of them. So I'm going to bring up my random number generator. We're going to pick 2 winners. One is for the book, and the other one is for a $50 gift card. It will be your choice to Amazon. Here we go. The winner is generate. It's 11 and 2. So 11 will be the first one. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's see who it is. This is Phenom guy, Lee, last name? Lee, there you go. All right, congratulations. You want the book or you want the gift card? You get it. I'm going to sign that. Stay up here. We'll get a picture of that, okay? There, go ahead. Just show the picture there. We'll get a picture. Yeah.
1, 2, 3. What happened to our official effect?
All right.
1, 2, 3.
All right, good. I'll sign that for you in a second, okay? All right, and then the next winner was, let's see who that is on the list. 2. Damien.
What?
Damien Munt.
Really?
Yes.
You guys took way too long. You took way too long.
Congratulations. You got it, man. Way to go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
No,
All right.
3.
There you go. That's it. You shake your hand. There we go. Right there. We got we'll do it sideways. We did it right ways up. There we go.
Thank you.
All right. Cool, man. All right. Thanks, everybody. I know where we're going. We'll go somewhere. Have it somewhere. Sounds good. That was good, man. Thanks. Okay, good. Let's see. You got a pen on you by any chance? I got one. I got one right here. Surprised I got it.
Have you ever heard about Red File? Red File is a streaming server.
What's your
Video
Yeah.
One is Adobe Flash. I also work on the Xamarin before, but I never work on audio streaming, video streaming with Xamarin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Red is open source server.
Red
file.
Fire?
Red file.
File.
Red file.
F-I-L-E?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Red 5, I'm sorry. And it is an open source project for streaming video?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll look into that one. And it works with Xamarin? No. Okay.
So that one works with Adobe Flash. So on the client side, we use Adobe Flash.
Okay.
To embed in the white page.
Okay.
Stream
Cool. How do you spell your name?
from mine, E-N-G-M-A-I.
F?
E-N-G-M-A-I. E-N-G-M-A-I.
Yep. Let me get rid of this microphone. There we go.
So if you guys are interested in the IoT project, it's over there, the little kit.